everybody, I'm back for more stories again today. And today, this little guy is going to be in our story. Do you know what that is? That is a little green frog. And I don't just have one, and I don't just have two, but I have three. And in this story, the first story I'm going to read about the three little green frogs, they have some trouble because they don't want to share. They keep saying, "It's mine, it's mine, it's mine, it's mine." Did that ever happen to you? Sometimes it's hard to not want to have everything be yours. Sometimes it's hard to share. And that's what happened to these three little green frogs. And this is their story, and it's called, "It's Mine." Oh, look, on the inside, on the cover, one of the frogs is jumping up to get that butterfly or that bug. In the middle of Rainbow Pond, there was a small island. Small pebbles lined its beaches, and it was covered with ferns and leafy weeds. That looks like a very peaceful place, doesn't it? On the island lived three quarrelsome frogs. That means they were fighting all the time. Named Milton and Rupert and Lydia. They quarreled and they quibbled from morning till night. They were always doing this. Let me get them all on my fingers. They were saying, "Get out of my way! No, that's mine! No, that's mine! Get out of my way! No, I was here first! No, it was mine first!" That's a quarrel. They weren't very nice to each other, were they? Well, "Stay out of the pond," said Milton. "This water is mine." That water isn't his, is it? That water is everybody's. "Get off the island," said Rupert. "The earth is mine." Is the earth his? The earth is everybody's, isn't it? "Well, the air is mine," said Lydia. "So stay away from my air while I catch my butterfly." And she grabbed her butterfly. Well, that doesn't sound very nice and kind, does it? One day, a large toad appeared before them. "I live on the other side of the island," he said, "but I could hear you guys shouting, 'It's mine, it's mine, it's mine,' all day long. There is no peace because of your endless bickering. You cannot go on like this." With that, the toad slowly turned away and hopped through the weeds. He told those little frogs, "That's not very nice. You guys are fighting all the day, and it's too noisy for my ears." So, no sooner had he left than Milton ran off with a large worm. The others hopped after him. "Worms are for everybody," they cried, but Milton croaked, "No, not this one. It's mine." Well, I guess they didn't learn anything from that toad, did they? Suddenly, the sky turned dark, and a rumble of thunder circled the island. Rain filled the air, and the water turned to mud. The island grew smaller and smaller, as if it was being swallowed up by the rising flood. The frogs were a little bit scared. It's kind of scary when it rains sometimes, isn't it? Desperately, they clung to the few slippery stones that still rose above the wild, dark water. But soon, even the stones began to disappear. The water was getting deeper and muddier, wasn't it? I think that was the lightning in the sky. There was only one rock left, and there the frogs huddled together, trembling from cold and fright. But they felt better now that they were together, sharing the same fears and hopes. Little by little, the water subsided. That means it went down. The rain fell gently, and it stopped altogether, finally. And all of the three frogs stayed together like this, helping each other feel safe. They all got really, really close. They weren't fighting now. They were helping each other, weren't they? They were helping each other feel safe. Look, the large rock that had saved them from all of that water wasn't a rock at all. Look what it was. It was the toad. You saved us, said the frogs when they realized it was the toad. Oh, that was so nice of the toad to save them, wasn't it? The next morning, the water had cleared. Sun rays chased silver minnows through the bottom of the pond. Joyfully, the frogs jumped in side by side, and they swam all around the water. They look happy. Together, they leapt up after a swarm of butterflies that filled in the air. And nobody claimed them as their own. They shared them together. And later, when they rested in the weeds, they felt happy in a way they had never felt before. Isn't it peaceful, said Milton. And isn't it beautiful, said Rupert. And do you know what else, said Lydia. No, what? It's not mine. It's all ours. And it was. They learned how to share. And that's the end of the story of the 3 little frogs that went from saying, mine, 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 to it's ours, let's share. And they lived happily ever after. I have another story, and it's about a turtle. And this turtle is kind of silly because turtles have a shell that's very hard on their back, and sometimes they can put their head in the shell, and sometimes they put their head out of the shell. And this is an adventure about one of those turtles. And it's called Turtle Tale. It's a turtle story. One morning, on the way to the pond, an apple fell on a turtle's head. Ouch! Another apple, kind of like in the other story, another day. It hurt so much the turtle pulled his head inside his shell, and he made up his mind to keep it there, thinking, that is what a wise turtle would do. Do you think he can keep his head in the shell all the time? I don't know if that's very wise. Inside his shell, it was very dark, and he couldn't see anything. He couldn't see anything. How is he going to see where he's going? This is what it looked like in his shell. Just dark like that. But he could still smell his way along the path to the pond. So silly little turtle walked down the road with his head in his shell, and he couldn't see where he was going. On the way, he bumped into an old friend. Bump! Hey, watch where you're going, said the rabbit. And then he bumped into a rock. Bump! Oh no. And then he fell off of a log. I think he better get his head out of his shell. He can't see where he's going. And then he tumbled down the hill. Oh no, silly turtle. He needs to get his head out of his shell, don't you think? Well, when Turtle got to the pond, he could not eat. He could not drink. That night, Turtle cried himself to sleep. I can't see, I can't eat, I can't drink. When he woke up the next morning, he stuck his head out, and he made up his mind to keep his head out, thinking, that is what a wise turtle would do. By then, he was very thirsty and very hungry, and he took a very long drink. Good, I'm glad his head is out. Now he can see where he's going. He had fish for breakfast. After breakfast, he climbed up on top of his favorite rock, and he began to sun himself. The sun felt so good. When the sun went in, raindrops began to fall. Oh my, it's raining on little turtle. And the other animals took cover. They thought, we're not going to sit out here in the rain. But not Turtle. He stayed in the rain, and I think I see that lightning. See the lightning in the corner? Probably not safe to be out in the rain. Fox was running for cover too when he saw Turtle. I think Fox was looking at Turtle like maybe he was going to be a snack. So Fox got a little closer, but Turtle still had his head out because remember he decided it would be wise to leave it out. I think he should take it in now. What do you think? While the fox leapt through the air straight for Turtle's head, Turtle thought to himself, but then maybe it's best if I keep my head out sometimes, but sometimes put it back in. I think that's what a wise turtle would do, don't you? So that's just what he did. And the fox tried to chomp down on that big old shell, and it was like chomping on a rock. And the fox said, oh my, and he walked away. Tucked safely inside his shell, Turtle waited for Fox to go away and for the rain to stop. And when the rain stopped and the sun came out again, he put his head back out and he finished sunning himself. And he thought, that is what a wise turtle would do. And he was a wise turtle, wasn't he? And you are a wise person or a wise child. And I'm so happy that you were here listening to stories today. And I will see you next time. Bye-bye, friends.